XAM, Abel, King Nazaru, Neo Game Spark, Danny's E-World, Firefish Shikamaru, and 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 many more, many more. Several years later, Payback was and always will be a motherfucking bitch. Spider-Man is and always will be back in the MCU. That means the Amazing Spider-Man film franchise is and forever is no more. This is the intro to several video responses. Amazing Spider-Man video responses relayed to you. Like I said, this was retaliation from Dragon Ball Evolution. If I couldn't have Dragon Ball Reborn, you cannot have the Amazing Spider-Man. And while the other Spider-Man protesters are finished, this protester isn't. Once again, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone who protested, bashed, ranted on, and boycotted this movie and brought it home where it belongs, to the MCU. Thank you for helping me even the score up with this Dragon Ball protest trash and fake ass Spider-Man trash and Sony Amazing Spider-Man film Andrew Garfield trash. I will never stop thanking you. There will be several thank you videos to everyone who made this possible, for showing me that no matter how popular something is, if you're passionate about something and you protested it, if you can make enough noise and you can be loud enough, you can make some noise and stop this said movie. And we stopped the Amazing Spider-Man and brought him home to Marvel where he belongs. Thank you for that, everyone. Now, like I said, Abel, King Nazaru, Spider-Man coming back. Abel, King Nazaru, Danny's D-World, XAM, Neo Game Spark, Firefish Shikamaru, Spider-Man returning home to the MCU. The Amazing Spider-Man coming home to the MCU and the Amazing Spider-Man films being canceled is my all-time favorite form of vengeance against you, because it exposed you for the dumbass, sheep, and hypocrites you were. You had no business near this movie, let alone supporting and defending it. But like I said, I like raining on Spider-Man the most. That's my favorite form of vengeance against you. But this feud, this war started because of Dragon Ball Evolution, and Naruto. So we will finish with Dragon Ball Evolution and Naruto. So yes, this is the remade intro to several video responses to you, and we're also going to do other franchises like Ninja Turtles, because I got a huge problem with that fan base, which you're part of. Ninja Turtles, the DCU, we're going to defend the DCEU, and we're going to defend Dragon Ball Evolution, and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series again. So with that being said, let's hit my music, and I'm gonna make my great entrance. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm made of. One last time, one last fight against the protesters. To quote Ocean Dub T and Shinhan, this four-eyed cowboy and this Spider-Man protester and Dragon Ball Evolution supporter is going for one last ride. Let's get this started now. Waited forever for this. looking for. Ooh, you get it. It's time. All right, we're gonna wrap it up with you, Danny's D World, Krillin fan, whatever you call yourself these days. All right, number one, as always, the Amazing Spider-Man films, both part one and two, were garbage. Before we talk about any comic book material, they were garbage. Shitty scripts, storyline, acting, and of course, special effects. Special effects. Let's start off with the special effects. The special effects looks cartoonish and fake. In your terrible review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, you had the audacity to say this was a comic book come to life. No, this was a cartoon come to life. This was more stupid, over the top, and gay than any Spider-Man cartoon or any comic book or superhero cartoon. 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 Films from years ago. Films from 40 plus years ago, the 70s with the Star Wars, look more real and look more believable than this sorry excuse for a comic book superhero Spider-Man film. Spider-Man film. Like Trilby of Trilby Reviews said, the Spider-Man movie, the Amazing Spider-Man movie, especially 2, looked like the GameCube era of special effects. Then you got the first one, 2012, which looks like a movie that came out in 2005 and 8, even though it's supposed to be a 2012 based movie. Based 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 movie. So there was the special effects. Then there was the acting. The acting. Some of the worst and most atrocious acting I've ever seen in a film. In a film was this movie. This movie. The characters repeat everything they say, like Ralph the movie maker says. Ralph the movie maker, YouTuber, and internet critic says, I break up with you. I break up with you. I break up with you. You got the terrible, cringeworthy scenes between Harry and Peter. I wish I could do the impression. Wish I could do the impressions, but I can barely remember what those scenes were about because they were so terrible. There he is. There he is. I remember Harry saying that something about his unibrow. Is Spider-Man or woman? We don't know. Anyway, it was just terrible. Oh yeah, then the iconic. There's a question. There's a question. So horrible, cringeworthy acting. Their bad dialogue was bad. So not even their like bad dialogue. There was nothing. They didn't say anything that I would want to quote over and over again, like in other movies, like in various other movies. Their bad dialogue was bad. Was just cringe and terrible. But then again, you can't blame all the actors, with the exception of Andrew Garfield. With the exception of Andrew Garfield, because the script and the screenplay gave them nothing to work with, and it was so damn bad. It was so damn bad. Which, like I said, atrocious script,
both of these films suck. The only difference between the first one and the second one is the first one had one boring plot, including a Sinister Six setup that does nothing for that film, and a stupid parent subplot. And a stupid parent subplot that adds nothing to that film. It is just a desperate attempt to make us feel sorry for the lame Andrew Garfield Spider-Man character, because he was such a cocky show-off hipster and asshole and try-hard edgelord in this film, and pussy that nobody could relate to him. Nobody could relate to him. So yeah, one atrocious script with Spider-Man stealing somebody's badge, breaking into Oscorp and acquiring and getting bit by the spider, acquiring spider spider powers, and now he has to use those spider powers to stop Kurt Connors from who becomes the Lizard Man from turning everyone into lizards, which he's gonna do by spraying gas over the city, which is a ripoff of Batman Begins, and of course a rehash and ripoff of Batman 1989. And according to Red Letter Media's, who did a review on this film, which you can find in the description box below, it's a ripoff of a horror film from the 70s. I can't remember what it was called. So yes, nothing about this script was original or good. Good, like I said, and I was one of the first to say this when this atrocious movie trailer dropped in late 2011. This wasn't Spider-Man. This was The Amazing Twilight Man Begins. Twilight Man Twilight Man Begins. The film was popular because there was nothing out that year. Twilight was on its way out the door, so only competition they had was Avengers and Dark Knight Rises, which buried the shit out of this film, which owned the shit out of this movie. But if Twilight would have had a film in Twilight had a film that year, but it was later that year because Twilight didn't want a piece of the Avengers and the Dark Knight Rises. If Twilight would have had a film in the summer, the Amazing Spider-Man would have tanked at the box office. Even harder, would have tanked at the box office and would have got lost in the shuffle. We would not have got that atrocious Amazing Spider-Man 2. Then, like I said, Spider-Man 2, we got a bunch of subplots that aren't connected and that don't go anywhere. We still have the same stupid parent subplot from the first film that doesn't tie into anything or add anything to this film. You can remove that in this film, wouldn't be any difference. We got a Rhino and a Sinister Six spinoff, Sinister Six setup, which has no business here and could have been saved for another movie, and adds nothing to this movie. We got Aunt May wanted to become a nurse. And that's not resolved other than a scene with her at the end with the power being blocked out or something. But anyway, all of her scenes can be removed from the movie, and the movie would have been much better, especially the horrible scene with her and Peter arguing. Such horrible jokes like Laundry Sheriff. What else? What else about this atrocious movie? Oh yeah, then Electro storyline that wasn't inaccurate to the comic books, but it had to be rushed to make way for the lame Harry Osborn Green Goblin storyline and the iconic death of Gwen Stacy. Was both of those were quote unquote botched. So a bunch of subplots. Like I said, that went nowhere. Oh yes, number two, going back to the Sinister Six and spin-offs and stuff. Fan service and fan bait material. This movie, in order to get people into the theaters, to get dumbasses like you into the theaters and casuals, they crammed the film. They knew the film sucked, so they crammed the film with not only multiple product replacement ads for Sony, but they also crammed the film with fan service and fan baiting material because they knew their film sucked. So they crammed filled with fan service and fan baiting material from the comic books and source material that everyone would recognize. However, having completely different scripts, scripts, scenarios from those iconic scenes, and just having them because the comic books having them, and then trying to set up Sinister Six stuff when you can't get Peter, Harry, Gwen, Electro, Rhino, um, Rhino, and everyone else in the Norman Osborn, and everyone else in the film. Like, they had the audacity to announce two sequels when it was released, and a Sinister Six spinoff, all of which is thankfully will never happen now. Number three, like I told Abel, XAM, King Nazaru, Firefish Shikamaru. Yeah, this is vengeance, retaliation for Dragon Ball Evolution, Green Lantern 2011, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unlike Dragon Ball Evolution and Green Lantern 2011, does not need me to defend them. But I hated that in 2012, when the Avengers burst on the scene and the Marvel Cinematic Universe was taken off, kicking so much ass. We had two types of haters. Now, it's your opinion if you hate the MCU or not, MCU or the Avengers or not. That's your opinion. But to try to discredit, and to this day they still do it with the newer Spider-Mans, to try to discredit the MCU, to push and excuse the monstrosity and the garbage that was the Amazing Spider-Man films 1 and 2 is nothing but jealousy. Then the other people were bitter Nolan fans who couldn't accept the fact that The Dark Knight Rises was the peak of the Nolan franchise. That was the end. That's over. That era, that filming style is over. Nobody wants to see that dark, gritty, realistic BS anymore. They want the comic books, the age of the MCU, the cinematic universes, and that's my issue with the Amazing Spider-Man fans who happen to be MCU haters, trying to bash and discredit the MCU because you were jealous, and aiming that despite all that hype, despite all that promotion, you still couldn't outgross the Sam Raimi trilogy. You still couldn't gross for both movies more than $700 million. $700 million, and you put that together, that's $14 million. You can't gross higher than that. You could make the 1 billion mark, despite all the hype, the all-star power cast you had in this movie, in this quote-unquote movie. So you try to discredit and talk down successful and awesome stuff. Then, of course, like I said, if I can't have Dragon Ball Evolution, Green Lantern 2011, you can't have The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, The Dark Knight, X-Men First Class, and the most recent Days of Future Past. These films, adaptation-wise, were bad enough. We don't need another terrible comic book adaptation. So I'm glad the Spider-Man protest stepped up, came through, and together, the Amazing Spider-Man protest, and the real Spider-Man fans and the Amazing Spider-Man haters like myself came together and managed to tank this film and force them to give it back to Marvel. Like I said, I'm not listening to a different opinion on Dragon Ball Evolution and Green Lantern 2011. So that's what it is right there. That should have been number 1, but I decided to list it as number 3 on this list. And number 4, inaccurate to the comic book. So the film was garbage, shitty script, storyline, acting, and special effects. But could we at least say, and this when I decided to do my research, could we at least say did it at least represent Spider-Man? Did they follow the comic books? Did they do it justice? Hell to the N-O. Hell to the N-O. This movie strayed even further away from the comic books than the Sam Raimi version. There. For those who say this was the comic books, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. They didn't follow nothing. They didn't follow anything from the comic books. There was only three things. This movie only had three things from the comic books. Andrew Garfield looks like the ultimate version of Spider-Man, even though you're called amazing. Okay. He has web shooters instead of the webs coming out of his hand like in the Sam Raimi version. And as much as I couldn't stand the character, this version of Flash Thompson, the worst Flash Thompson ever. This character right here, this is actually an accurate depiction of Flash Thompson, even if the character in this version just ultimately sucked, in my opinion. Other than that, everything else is wrong. There's a big 70% difference. So yes, inaccurate to the comic books. There is no magic blood. That is a ripoff. That is a rehash of Star Trek Into Darkness. There is no magic blood with Harry and Peter. Harry and Peter were not best friends until Harry was sent away to boarding school. No, in both versions. It was different in both versions, the Amazing and Ultimate. But Peter and Harry were long life friends, and Harry turned against Peter when he figured out that Spider-Man has something to do with Norman Osborn's death. Sam Raimi, for everything they got wrong, they got this right. How do you stray even further to get it wrong? Harry Osborn was never Goblin before Norman Osborn. And Harry Osborn did not kill Gwen Stacy. Norman Osborn killed Gwen Stacy. Harry Osborn wasn't even Goblin yet. And I'm sick of talking about how much they bastardized Gwen Stacy. That I'm gonna leave Trilby's video of that in the description box below. How they bastardized the iconic death of Gwen Stacy, death of quote unquote Gwen Stacy. So inaccurate to the comic books. I don't know who Lizard is. I don't know what the original incarnation of Lizard was, but according to most fans, real fans, they didn't get the Lizard right either. They didn't represent him. And I'll take their word for it over you, Danny's New World. You, a fat ass over the internet making videos. And in those videos, we don't see not one comic book. My comic books are shown in various quote unquote videos, and I admit I didn't grow up with Spider-Man comics. I'm just now getting into them for the first time up now. The only ones I read were the Todd McFarlane's Torment series. They didn't get that either, so don't be trying that other universe crap either. Yeah, multiple universes, and you didn't get one right. You didn't get one right, including the two you were based upon, Amazing and Ultimate. Oh yeah, there's so much more. Oh yeah, which brings me to number 5. Andrew Garfield and the characters suck. Andrew Garfield, like I've said in plenty of videos, I like to call him pussy ass Garfield. Pussy ass Andrew Garfield. Because he's the worst and most overrated actor of all time. The most overrated superhero actor of all time. And one of the worst actors of all time. He was terrible in these movies. Like I said, his personality, one note throughout both films, was try hard, cocky show off, asshole, hipster, try hard, edgelord, and wannabe bad boy. And those personas I just mentioned were not and never will be Peter Parker. Yeah, that's Spider-Man. That ain't Peter Parker. Then his Spider-Man sucks too. His Spider-Man is better than his Peter, I guess. Even though I hate both of them. His Spider-Man quips lame. His quips were so lame. I wanted to go back to the Sam Raimi version where he didn't talk. He makes jokes at inappropriate inappropriate times, and tells bad, terrible jokes that makes you want to root for the bad guy to kill him even more. To kill him even more. And people try to say, well, Andrew Garfield was like um was like the ultimate version. No, he was like no version of Peter Parker. Peter Parker would never steal somebody's badge, laugh at him, never apologize to him to sneak into Oscorp. But then Peter Parker does not and has never you rode a skateboard to school, and there's no story why the skateboard is there. It's just there because it's cool and hip. It's just cool and hip and what the kids are doing these days. Too busy trying to be hip, trying to be cool, trying to be in with the crowd. Trying to be in with the crowd instead of being accurate to the character. Peter Parker is supposed to be a nerd, a pushover. You got a problem with that? Pick another superhero. Stop watching Spider-Man. Films. That's what I want to see. Topher Grace, how Topher Grace was in what's that show called? That '70s show. That '70s show is how Peter Parker is. Hell, Justin Chaplin as Goku in Dragon Ball Evolution, minus the ignorance and dumbassery, is was a better representation of Peter Parker than Andrew Garfield was in this movie. And then people, if you want to try to come at me, Danny's D. Woe with Justin Chaplin, well, he was a cocky show-off, an asshole too. Goku is and was an asshole. Oh, an asshole and a cocky show-off. So, yeah, him being these things I criticize Andrew Garfield of is being accurate to the character, man. Accurate to the character. However, I will not have my friendly neighborhood Spider-Man being this way. So, Andrew Garfield. So I said he never learns. He's like this throughout the entire both movies. Then you got Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone was an awesome actress. I would have brought her back in a much better rebooted movie, but her Gwen Stacy something is one of the worst and most useless, overpowered Mari Sue female characters I've ever seen in she was a Bella Swan wannabe. Because number one, she was too involved in the plot when Gwen Stacy in the comics was never this involved in the plot, or she was involved in the plot but not Peter Parker's superhero life. First off, she didn't even know Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Number two, she did not help out in battles, which I had a problem with. Yes, I have a problem with that. I'm here to see Spider-Man, not Gwen Stacy. I want to see Gwen Stacy, but I want to see Gwen Stacy with her own life, her own problems, not being part of Peter's life and part of Peter's problems, part of Peter's superhero life and problems, problems. She was Mary Jane's rival and his classmate, not an intern at Oscorp. She did not help with defeating Electro, which I had. She's never even countered Electro. How is she the one to beat Electro? She's never even countered Electro. And who else? What else? Oh yeah. Then you have Oh yeah. Then for all of this girl power, trying to make her more heroic, trying to make her more useful, they created an even more pointless, bland, overpowered useless Mari Sue character. They created an even more useless character. Her character was just here to exist, be Peter Parker's girlfriend for 2 movies, and then die and introduce the next lead in Mary Jane. And Sally Field. Do I even really got to talk about her? Aunt May. She hated the character in this film. Most of her scenes can be removed in the film, would not be any different. It would be even better. It would have been even better. She hated this film, so I really don't even have to talk about Sally Field. Then you got then I basically already mentioned the Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn in number 4, inaccurate to the comic books. and then you got Electro. Not only is he inaccurate to his comic book counterpart, Electro was never a sympathetic character. You mentioned that in your review, Danny's D World. He was never a sympathetic character except for in the cartoons and in a Japanese Spider-Man manga. Maxwell Dillon, actually, when he got his powers, it was the other way around. He was not going to walk all over everyone else. He had a superiority complex, and in the Amazing Spider-Man, when he got his powers, he decided from that point on he was going to rob banks and do whatever the fuck he pleased. He was never a sympathetic character. He never designed a power line for Oscorp. Never worked for Oscorp. Didn't fall into a vat of electric eels and explode and somehow not die but become Blue Electro Man, become Blue Electro Man, become Blue become Blue Electro Man, become Blue Electro Man. He damn sure didn't turn on Spider-Man because Peter Parker didn't remember his name, and the people and Spider-Man basically stole the spotlight from. He appeared on the Titantron, and because he was on the screen for a couple of minutes, the idiot thought he was famous. The idiot thought he was famous and actually believed Peter was actually there, and then he tried to cover it up by saying he thought Peter was not only stealing the spotlight from him, but was trying to set him up and get rid of him. You came in the city, Electro, you came in the city feeding on electricity, you bringing everyone there. Spider-Man had nothing to do with that right there. And he got Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield once again making jokes at inappropriate times. Then while hosing down, finding it enough time to put on that police hat. That's a Batman and Robin moment for you right there. So yeah. Then we get to the final one. Number six. This is all of you. Danny's D World, XAM, Abel, King Nazaru, Firefish Shikamaru, and everyone else who I can't think of right now. I think each of you have learned your lesson, because I've been trolling, bothering and bullying the Amazing Spider-Man fans since it was announced, that since the film released, and in these several years since I've last debated with you guys about this film, I have yet to see any of you in the comment section, so I think you understand. But never, especially you, Daisy Rose, it was your dumb ass who made the video. Never create a scene like that again. Number one, never tell us what we have to like. Never make a video called A Lesson in Growth. You didn't mention the Amazing Spider-Man there, but you wanted to. You were definitely alluding and talking about that. Talking about that. You weren't fair with Dragon Ball Evolution. We're not fair. I'm not, and we're not fair with the Amazing Spider-Man's Part 1 and 2. We don't have to like anything. Your film was a terrible, inaccurate, corporate cash grab, and in the greatest movie era, in the age of the MCU, I will not, and never will, accept that. Then, it wouldn't stop, on and on, it wouldn't stop. You did the rant to end all rants, where you had the audacity to try to, just because of what Marvel was doing with the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, the whole breaking the fourth wall, Deadpool style, Family Guy Deadpool style, you foolishly thought and tried to convince the people, Marvel, because of what they did with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, they were going to do something like that in the MCU. Once again, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here with that garbage. Get the fuck out of that garbage. Only two people are allowed to make Spider-Man movies, Sam Raimi and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it shows right now with two awesome rebooted films. And now we're about to get the third one. But never create a scene. Then it still wouldn't stop. Still talking about it in the Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier review. Your Winter Soldier, I mean, now you not review, but your Q&A, you mentioned in the Winter Soldier how that had unresolved plot points. Winter Soldier was a good movie, dumbass. Dumbass, your movies were terrible and had the audacity to put in plot points for other movies. How about you focus on your first movies first? Marvel, yeah, Marvel MCU has Easter eggs and setups to other movies, but they're able to do it while still focusing on their movie and plot and characters. Dumbass. And next is the biggest one. The biggest one. The one that inspired this payback revenge video, this victory videos, these series of victory videos right here. You had the gall, the audacity, because your films, The Amazing Spider-Man Part 1 and 2 failed. You had the audacity to sit up there and make a video called Curse of Lower Expectations and Standards, because your film failed. You had the audacity to come here and act like we're in this cinematic apocalypse because your movies, which deserve to fail, telling us stuff we already know about how studios don't care about us. They only care about money. They only care about money. They only care about money. They don't even care if their films were good. Yeah, we know that. We know that. We know that. Yeah. Answer me this. Answer me this. But you have yet to answer. Why did you go to both of these movies? And why did you go to both of these movies 5 times? Not only 5 times or multiple times. You mentioned going to these movies multiple times. Why did you go to these movies multiple times, giving them a bunch of money? Then even worse, why did you sit up there and lie and say these movies were not only good but followed the comic books? Because if you were a real fan, you were a real comic book Spider-Man fan, you and this goes for each of you, you would have avoided this film. Like I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. If you were a real Spider-Man fan, you would not have been anywhere near these movies. Not even a Spider-Man fan, not even a real Spider-Man fan. When it comes to Spider-Man, anything from the 90s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's the cartoons, comics, and the Sam Raimi's, which was in the 2000s, but it's based upon the stuff from the 90s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and some of the 2000s stuff. That's all. That's my favorite stuff, and all I really care about. Not really a huge Spider-Man. Not really a huge Spider-Man fan, and I was offended with the inaccuracies to the comic books, the corporate cash, and just the fan service and fan baiting material, and the lack of effort in the screenwriting, acting, and other departments completely pissed me off. And the biggest sin, I didn't mention this, I should have mentioned in the Andrew Garfield part, was casting Andrew Garfield. If Andrew Garfield was out in the film, I would have forgave every single flaw and sin this movie had. The point is, when you got what was coming to you, yeah, that's karma. Transformers Age of Extinction squashed The Amazing Spider-Man. Of course, it was one of the highest grossing films of what you call it. It had better CGI than The Amazing Spider-Man. It had better action than The Amazing Spider-Man. It had a better script. I don't remember what it was, but it was definitely better than The Amazing Spider-Man script. Then it had a better cast, including legendary Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, who owns Andrew Garfield in the lead role. But anyone can own Andrew Garfield because he sucks. He sucks. And if you haven't learned by now, Michael Bay's movies are critic proof. Who cares if they sit terribly with critics, but they're popular with audiences. So yeah, you're not smart, you're not a genius. If you're really this genius, this rebel and this protester you claim to be, you would not be in any of these movies. Yeah, as much as I bitch about people for DBE and Spider-Man and all these movies, if you were really a protester or rebel and really cared about these franchises, you probably would not be in any of these movies, because none of these movies, except for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the DC Extended Universe, the Twilight films, and I'm dead serious, the Mortal Kombat films from back in the day, these are only films that, for the most part, followed and successfully maintained the spirit and represented their source material. I'm dead serious. Other than that, you would not be anywhere near these movies. anywhere near these movies. Nah, you were at these movies because you were not only are you a dumbass, not only you're a dumbass, not only you're a dumbass sheep and moron, but you're also a hypocrite because you went to these movies, and this is you too, Abel, King Nazaru, XAM, and Firefish Shikamaru, all of and the rest of you who went to these movies, the other people I haven't got to yet, you all went to this movie because you wanted to see Sinister Six stuff. You didn't care if these movies were good. You wanted to see Sinister Six and spin-off material. Because like I said, there's only 4 reasons you could have liked this film. Number 1, you're a huge Spider-Man fan where you like everything, including the terrible stuff. Yeah, don't have a problem with that. Just say that. Don't try to lie and convince people that this shit is good. This shit is good like you did. And don't make videos telling us we have low expectations because your films failed. That's your film failed. Number two, you're a girl. You're a girl. You're a girl. People like Dave DeHaan, Andrew Garfield, and Jamie Foxx look sexy on a poster, and they were trying to get into Twilight people. So number 2, girl. Number 3, a similar group, the kids. Similar group, the kids who don't know any better. Number 4, a casual who is just looking for a good time. And number 4 is a casual who is looking for a good time, who they were also counting on. Those are the only 4 reasons you could have liked the Amazing Spider-Man movies. If you're a real fan, you would not have liked this unless you're really, and I mean really, 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 really open-minded. You open-minded and accepting of anything, which kind of also ties in with number 1, being such a huge Spider-Man fan that you like anything. So those are the only 4 to 5 reasons you can like these shitty movies. There is no excuse why you should have been at these movies, been at these quote unquote movies. But I told you why. You don't have to tell me why. And to this day, I demand to know why. But you don't have to tell me why, because I know why. You all keep avoiding the question, especially you, Abel. But we know why. You showed your true colors. You showed your dumbassery. You don't know anything about Spider-Man. None of you do. No one under the age of 35, I used to say 30. Now it's 35 and 40 plus years of age. No one under those age groups knows anything about the Spider-Man comics. And I mean the originals. The originals from the 90s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Not the New Age Ultimate stuff. Not the New Age Ultimate stuff and that superior stuff. No, the original stuff. What went down in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, the original stuff. So, yeah, so, yeah, I got 3 more, yeah, King Nazaru, Danny's D World, like I said, in plenty of previous videos and plenty of previous debates from back then. There's a boxing ring. There's a boxing ring, and there's a cage out there. And there's a cage out there. There's a cage out there. There's a cage out there, and I want all 3 of your asses in that ring. Is that personal? So once again, you got a problem with my videos and with me taunting and my victory videos. There's a place to settle this. There's a place to settle this. That's the boxing ring, cage, and what you call it. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Most recently, can't believe it. I kept worrying about all my trolling and threatening of people would affect my job opportunities, but one of my job opportunities, which is a boxer and professional fighter, requires me to be an asshole, and people will pay money to see me trash talk you and beat each of your asses inside that ring and inside that cage. It's that personal. But until that glorious day comes, this is the victory video. And even though Dragon Ball and Naruto will come after this, and several more videos, this was the video, and the Spider-Man failing, Amazing Spider-Man failing and coming home was my greatest vengeance. Against you guys. Once again, Not only did I expose you for the dumbasses, sheep, morons, and hypocrites you've always been, but we tanked and brought Spider-Man home, completely avenging Dragon Ball Evolution and Green Lantern. But like I said, even though this ended the feud right here, and this is my favorite form of vengeance and payback, this feud started, quote unquote, started with Dragon Ball Evolution, Naruto, and the original Dragon Ball Z. And of course, those videos will be next. Well, there's nothing left to do now except wait for it, Super Kick Dance Party!